Jason's doing a fantastic job. Obviously, this will be his second year with us. We felt like he's been with us a long time. His personality is one of those personalities that's easy to get along with. The players are really motivated, and he really activates, and he can stimulate his personnel extremely well. So we're excited about what's been going on in the spring, and we're looking forward to see what's going to happen in the fall with his first opportunity with us.
Coach, we're going to stay on the right side, third row, gentleman in the black and white stripes.
Hey, Coach Babers. This is Chris Idell from Herbertson Radio in Baltimore. Talk about your running game. What do you guys have to do this year to get the running game better? Because I know you lost Tucker to the Buccaneers. What do you guys have to do to get better?
Well, I think the first thing is we've had a lot of turnover in the offensive line. Another fantastic question. We need to get those guys solidified up front. As the big guys go, we go, whether that's the O-line or the D-line. So if we get that solidified, then we've got a host of characters that are looking forward to seeing if they can step into the shoes that Mr. Tucker left with, and we wish him the best of luck with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But we feel like we've got adequate back there, but it always starts with the offensive line if you want to talk about the running game.
Coach, to your left, about midway through the room. Sir, if you stand up, please. Thank you.
Cameron Devereaux, Dimmading Digest. Dino, you lost, 5 different personnel from your coaching staff to different places this offseason. Just how difficult was it to kind of keep the team intact and really kind of keep the continuity that gave you a little bit of success the first half of last season?
I didn't hear the second part of the question. Could you give me the second part again?
Just how hard was it to just kind of keep the continuity both on the team and just a good path on to being a good program?
First of all, with the transfer portal, the teams have changed. There's guys coming in and coming out. With the coaches, it was a little unique to have that many coaches leave, but they all left for different situations. And I think the coolest thing about them leaving is that we got new personalities in. And for these young men, our family, our Ohana, our La Familia, to have those new coaches come in and have them look at the young men through a different set of eyes and give them the positives and negatives of another coach being able to coach them and talk to them, I think is going to raise benefits for us, because sometimes they need to hear it from someone else when they've been too used to hearing it from the same person. It gives new life to players who may have been lost in the depth chart a little bit. When the new coaches come in and they look at them through a different set of eyes, it may give them some opportunities that they may not have had before.
Coach, to your right, the gentleman in the red shirt.
With Locked On ACC, you were Syracuse last year was one of the first teams in NCAA history to have a 6-game winning streak and a 5-game losing streak in the same season. And we know that there was injuries to Garrett and injuries to multiple other players, but was that more so like an injury thing, or was it a lack of consistency? And if so, how do you continue that consistency to build upon an excellent start like that if that is to happen again?
First of all, you got a fantastic shirt. I'm a little jealous of it. I could wear that. I could boat that thing, that's for sure. That's got my aloha all over it. All right, the biggest thing is it wasn't so much the injuries, it was who the injuries were. We lost 7 out of our 22 starters in the first 6 games. Before we kicked off mid-season against Clemson, we'd already lost 7 starters before we kicked the ball off. These are 7 bona fide, fantastic players and leaders on the football team. So to me, it was based off of more of not only the competition, but also the level of players that we left. With the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness and things like that, it's very difficult to have a squad that's 44, 50, 60 guys deep. What normally happens is your good backups who aren't playing go somewhere else, and that's what's been happening to a lot of universities around the country. So if you lose a fantastic guy, you've got good personnel behind them, but they just don't have the experience, or they don't have the body size or growth that's needed, because those solid guys have already gone to be starters somewhere else.
Coach, to your right, all the way towards the wall. Yeah, please stand. Yes, sir.
Coach, good afternoon. This is Terry Spain with Friday Night Locker Rooms. My question to you is, what do you like most about the makeup of this team, and what should the fans expect for the Syracuse football this year?
First of all, the three men behind me, along with Justin Barron, one of our captains, is not here. The leadership group on this team is extremely strong, and they're given an opportunity based off of what happened last year to continue that legacy. These guys are locked in, these guys are focused, and they want to do some things that hadn't been done in a long time at Syracuse University. Whether they're able to do that, well, we're going to have to wait and see, but it's not from a lack of effort. I've seen these guys, I've been around them, I know how hard they work this summer, and they're ready to put their best foot forward, and I'm excited to see what we can do.
Coach, follow the center aisle all the way to the back, right-hand side. Please stand, sir. Thank you.
Hey, Dino, Matt Baker with the Tampa Bay Times. You mentioned Sean Tucker and the Buccaneers a little bit ago, so I got to ask, what do you think Bucs fans should know about him?
You know, first of all, although he's quiet, he's a very loud worker. He won't say much, so don't listen to that part, but you wouldn't hear it anyway. But just watch with your eyes, because he's a very, very diligent, very hard worker, and I have not seen him not be able to accomplish something that he set his mind to.
Coach, follow the center aisle right there on the left, fourth row.
How you doing, Coach Babers?
Good. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing amazing. So we always talk about player expectations, player goals. What are your personal coaching goals for this season heading into 2023? And how do you want this year's legacy to be for the Syracuse program?
You know, first of all, legacies are created by players. And I'm just fortunate enough and blessed enough to be out in front of these young men and hopefully giving them the type of leadership they need to achieve the success that they want. When it comes to what they're capable of doing, they're capable of doing amazing things as long as they do it together, as long as they don't care who gets the credit, as long as they drop the E so we can all GO in the same direction as one and not as many, then we'll have an opportunity to do amazing things.
Right in front of you, Coach, to your left.
I don't have to stand up, do
No, sir. You're good.
I? Coach Babers, good morning.
Good morning.
How many times have you brought a sophomore to this event? And talk about the tight end that's to your left and what he's meant to the team over the past year.
Well, you're gonna put me on the spot. I would imagine that I may not have ever brought a sophomore to this event. I'm not quite sure, but I would bet that never is a good answer. Oronde's different. You know, he's older than his years. He was well tutored before he got to us with his dad, who played for the Dolphins, and he's very mature about his work. So when I think about him, I think about Matthew Bergeron, who was the second-round pick of the Falcons, who's in camp right now. I think of Zaire Franklin, who was a seventh-round pick by the Colts, who everybody said was going to get cut. I think he's been captain 3 years in a row now. I think about young men that came into the program and they were older than their years, extremely focused, locked in academically, and they know exactly what they want. So when you talk about OG, okay, those are the things that you're talking about at Syracuse University.
We've got about 6 more minutes with Coach. We'll go back up the center aisle to the right, back to Mike Barber.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you one more about Oronde. What has been his development on the field in terms of his play? How has his game changed and grown? And do you consider him a wide receiver or a tight end?
I consider him a tight end, but you guys can consider him whatever he wants. When you put the little equal, what does that equal? It equals football player. And someone that needs to touch the ball, because if he touches the ball a lot, usually after the game, you feel really good.
Coach, your last 2 questions will come to the right side. They're shoulder to shoulder, these 2 gentlemen in the 3rd row.
Coach, over here, Ben Spector, WA.
To the right, Coach.
Oh, way over there. Got you.
You talked about the leadership of your team, the players behind you. Who's somebody on your team this year that not a lot of people are talking about that you would like to highlight?
You know, I would normally do that, but if I do that, the ones I don't highlight will get mad. It is one of those things where we all work together. And everybody that's behind me, you know, outside of OG, has been voted, okay, by their peers. And this is not a manipulation of votes in any manner. In our program, whoever gets the votes are the guys that are going to get the C's on their chest. We've got 3 guys that have C's. Marlowe and Garrett is 2 of them. Justin Barron is the 3rd. And then when we get done with August workouts, the team will vote for 3 more. And we go into the season with 6 guys wearing C's. But everybody on that football team that doesn't have a C on their chest is also a leader in some form or fashion. We're a family, and the older brothers lead the younger brothers, and that's the way the family moves.
Keep your attention right there, the gentleman in the blue.
Liam Griffin, Orange Fizz. Coach, you've talked a lot about Oronde developing as the top receiving option. You talked a lot last year about the receiving race per se. Can you touch on what the competition has been like for options behind Oronde in camp?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been exciting. There are some guys that have really made some huge improvements. I'm visualizing them right now, and it's plural, it's not singular, and we're excited to see where we're going to go with that group. I hope they're listening, I hope they're watching, I hope their parents are as well, because that group has really improved, and I can't wait to see it put on display on what they're capable of doing and whether they're willing and ready to match the challenge.
Coach, I'll actually ask the last question from the podium. I'm curious, you're starting your 8th year, been a lot of highs and a lot of lows, been COVID through that. What have you learned in what has now been 7 seasons at the helm?
I think the biggest thing is that the ACC is a conference that needs to be reckoned with. From top to bottom, you can get beat at any time. The athletes don't get enough credit, especially when even they move on to the next level of how efficient and how well coached they were in this conference. You have coaches that roll in and coaches that roll out. That's part of our business. But I think as the new guys come in every year, they look around the room and they're surprised by how well the coaches are. This is a well-coached conference, and it's one of those conferences that it's a real privilege to be a part of.
Coach, thank you. If you'd like to switch places with Oronde, we'll have Oronde up for about 5 minutes. Folks, even though you may have asked Coach a question, we'll ask you to identify yourselves again. To our student athletes in Oronde, you'll take your first question to the right, the young lady in the green.
How are you?
I'm doing good. You?
Good. My name is Katrina Sacco with Sports and Culture Media. When Coach uses words such as mature and phrases such as older than his years, what does that do for your overall morale and how you produce on and off the field?
It gives me some boost of confidence. I don't think he means older than his years as, just my age, but just how I know how to play the game, the rules, knowing how to try to be a leader. I'm usually a lead by example type of guy, so.
Oronde will go follow the center aisle to the right in the back.
Hey, Oronde, Mike Barber, Richmond Times-Dispatch. How has your game grown and developed in your years at Syracuse, and do you consider yourself a wide receiver or a tight end?
I probably consider myself a hybrid type of player. Don't really have a position right now. The biggest thing that's probably grown is probably my weight, coming in at 185, 190, and now I'm about 225, 230. I think I've just gotten better at running routes, catching the ball. I've always been good at catching the ball, but I've gotten even better now. And I'm still working on blocking.
Oronde, right side, the gentleman in the red shirt.
So, Kenton Gibbs with Locked On ACC. So we know that, you consider yourself a hybrid and versatile, and like Dino said, getting you the ball generally leads to good results. If you had to describe your game in 1 or 2 words, I know you don't like labels, but if you had to describe your game or label it in 1 or 2 words, what would it be?
Go-getter. Want to get the ball, want to score touchdowns, want to make plays.
Oronde, to the right side, gentleman's going to stand up there in the...
Hey, Oronde, Damian Sordelet with the Roanoke Times. You talk about being a hybrid player. Are there any players on your team or any players in the NFL like a Kyle Pitts or an Evan Ingram that you try to model your game after, so that way you can be effective both split out wide and also down at the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, mostly those 2 guys that you just named are guys that I'll probably model my game after. Want to be able to play inline tight end, play in the slot, and play outside.
Oronde, right in front of you to your left.
I didn't introduce myself before. Luke Williams with HBCU Game Day. Oronde, I covered your father at Winston-Salem State, and Coach Babers talked about you've been well schooled. How much of that came from your father, and what were the main things that he taught you about playing football and playing the position of wide receiver?
I would say probably 90% came from him. Other 10% just came from any other coaches, which when I mean any other coaches, anyone he's played with or played against, so all NFL guys are dudes that are teaching me the game.
Oronde, a question from the podium here. You're a dual major in broadcast and digital journalism and information management and technologies. With all that, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I actually switched my major to what you just said. I have economics and minor in finance, and I've been interning with Pinnacle Investment Firm for the past 3 summers from 11 to 5 every weekday. So, you know, I can get into that field probably when I'm done with football.
Apologies from the podium. Other questions for Oronde from the room? Oronde, last question for you at the podium. Do you have to win an ACC championship in order to call it a successful season?
I don't think you have to do that to call it a successful season, but it's something every team in the ACC wants to do.
Thank you, Oronde. If you'd like to switch places with Garrett, we'll get your quarterback up for about 5 minutes or so, and hands are already in the air. We will slide to our left side, Garrett, about midway back towards the doors.
Hey, Garrett, David Hood with TigerNet.com. You've played 35 games throughout your college career. Can you put a value on just how important that is, that you've kind of seen it all, done it all, especially running, you know, Coach Beck's offense, that there's really a lot you haven't encountered since you've been in the game?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've been blessed to be here where I'm at now, and I know that I definitely have taken a journey, which is the road less traveled, coming from another school. This is my 5th OC in 5 years. And so there's not been a lot of consistency, 3 head coaches. And but I'm grateful for where I'm at and the guys that I have around me. I've learned that that's what matters the most. You know, we got a great head coach and offensive coordinator and Coach Beck. He's a great guy and just a leader. You can see it in his family. But it's been awesome, and I'm excited for what we're going to do this year, especially because we are running the same offense. First time running a similar offense, different OC, but Coach Beck, he does a lot of exciting stuff, and we have a lot of different little minor details that we can get guys in different positions so we have the best chance for success.
Garrett, to your right, third row, gentleman in the blue.
Garrett, you talked all about Coach Beck a minute ago. Can you touch on your relationship with him, being your quarterback's coach and now being your OC?
Yeah, absolutely. He has a different approach toward the game and just the air raid, the way that he's learned and the way he sees the game of football. And it's been relieving because he is not a very strict and authoritarian, I guess would be the right word. He wants you to go out and play loose and play fun and just go out and make plays. And just the way his approach to the game and the mindset that he's given me and the way that I've been able to play, it's been awesome to see, and just the development that I've had just in last year and then what we're going to be able to do this year.
Garrett, follow the center aisle to your left, fourth row.
How's it going, Garrett? Lever KC, CFB Nation. So I'm going to kind of continue the trend we're talking about your offensive coordinator, Coach Beck. Robert Anaya, who's now with the Wolfpack, has a history of having successful seasons with quarterbacks. So you mentioned that this offense is pretty much the same. I guess it's a little tweaks here and there. Could you expound on that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So starting last year, we had a phenomenal running back. We had a totally different identity and what we thought we were going to be. And by the end of the year, that changed. And due to injuries and other things, we had to switch more personnel sets and do different things, which is part of the reason why we had to struggle. It was just out of necessity. But I feel like we have a clear-cut identity this year and what we're going to be. And it's the same offense, but look a little bit different. And I think we will be a lot more explosive. I know we'll be a lot more explosive. We'll score a lot more points, a lot more explosive plays. And we got a great group of guys. We got a great receiving room. Oronde leading the charge there. We're deeper than we've ever been since I've been here in the offensive line room, and our receivers have grown tremendously. So, and then our running backs as well. We got the studly running backs. So I'm excited to see what we're going to do. We got all the pieces. Now we just got to put it together.
Garrett, to your right, gentleman, fourth row, red shirt.
Kenton Gibbs, Locked On ACC. Garrett, your story is very similar to Coach Babers in that they've seen some very high highs and some very low lows, particularly last season where you had the 3rd highest completion percentage in program history, but then some nagging injuries and whatnot that kind of had you unavailable there. So coming into this season, how do you build upon a season where when you were healthy, the offense was rolling and there was so much success? How do you build upon that for this year?
Yeah, I think it's been the biggest thing is to learn from what we did good and the things that we didn't do so well. And there was times where, guys, we weren't necessarily playing well, but we found a way to come out and win. I think of the Purdue game. And what seems like everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, but we still found a way to pull it out. And that was, we've been in a ton of close games. So I think the ability to learn from those, I think that throughout the years that we've been here, all those things will come out this year. And all the lessons that we've learned. And we had a young team. We've had a little bit older team, and now our team is finally maturing. I think we're at the point where we're going to be able to turn a lot of heads this year, like we did last year. But just being able to stay healthy and be consistent and be able to do that throughout the course of the year will be important to us.
Staying on your right, just a little bit further to your right, though.
Hey, Garrett. Ben Spector, WAER. Just different running backs now. LaQuint Allen, Sean Tucker leaves the program. What's the difference between the two backs, and what's your chemistry with LaQuint like these days?
I love LaQuint. I love Sean Tuck, too, as well. He was a hard worker. Wish the best for him. But with LaQuint Allen, he's got a totally different skill set, and we're trying to tailor our offense to that as well. And just Sean had a different skill set, and they're both really good running backs. And we're excited to see what LaQuint's going to be able to do this year. And he's a hard worker. He plays hard. And a lot of guys, there's a lot of camaraderie built around him because of the way that he plays and the way he shows up every day. And the best thing about him is he's just as good as a player without the ball as he is with the ball. And it's fun to see, and everybody loves watching him play. So,
Garrett, last question from the podium. What's it like to be back in Charlotte?
it's been awesome. Y'all moved this event back on us a little bit, so kind of cutting. I was able to drive down this time, so I didn't get to fly on the jet with everybody else, but it's been awesome.
Garrett, thank you. If you'll switch places with Marlowe, we'll spend our last 5 minutes with Mr. Wax. Folks, same idea with the idea that you are identifying yourselves to our student athletes, and Marlowe will start left side, about midway back.
David Hope at TigerNet.com. This is a two-part question. First part may be a little bit of fun. Great linebacker, but people may not know you were a great running back in high school. Do you ever kind of nudge Coach Babers and say, hey, throw me back there, give me a shot, put me in a package?
Of course, that's an all-the-time conversation. I mean, I would love to give me just one carry before I leave Syracuse, but we'll see how it goes this season, though.
Be top, I think, 12 in tackles last year in the league. You hear people talk about you. They say he just has a nose for the football. What is it about your playing style that leads to not only that physicality, but always being able to be around the football?
I feel like you said, just playing running back, it helps me just see the defense better and see what the running back sees, because we all know if I see a hole, running back also sees the hole. So I just have a nose for where he wants to go. Just meet him there.
Marlowe, to your right, fourth row, gentleman in the red.
Kenton Gibbs with Locked On ACC. Marlowe, you have been a leader on this defense from very early on, and you have been a very vocal leader, but that kind of translates off the field with the Mob podcast. Yeah. So first part of the question, are we getting the Mob podcast back in 2023?
Yeah, for sure. Caleb's not going to let us not keep it going. It's definitely going to keep it going for the next season coming up.
Okay, excellent. And second of all, with some of the guys that you all are having to replace defensively, with you being a leader who's very vocal and all the things that go into that, is that something that naturally comes about for you, or is that something that you've had to intentionally work at in order to be more of an outspoken leader for your team and for your defense?
I probably would have to say that it didn't come easy. I was more of the laid-back guy, quiet guy, not really trying to be vocal, but as you all know, Michael Jones, he's a great leader. He helped me a lot in that area in my game, just being able to talk to the young guys, talk to the teammates that's also older, and just be more vocal and just be that person that people will look at and just listen to. So I give a lot of praise and a lot of thanks to him. He just helped me a lot in that area.
Your next two questions are going to come side by side. They're on the fourth row to your left.
Lever KT, CFB Nation. How's it going? I'm a Marylander. He's a Marylander. Talk to us about, one, growing up in Maryland, and then two, what is it like playing football in Maryland?
Yeah, so coming from inner city Baltimore, a lot of kids don't get to be in places like this in Power 5 schools, so definitely big for me. I give a lot of thanks to my mom. She kept me in sports, kept me just around, just not doing the wrong things. It's a dream come true to be here, standing right here, talking to you right now.
Deshaun Minor, CFB Nation. Marlowe, I feel like you got the best drip on Syracuse team, bro. Talk to us about your drip and what can we look forward to this season? That's my first part. And then also the second part, more seriously, what did this offseason's training look like for you? What did you want to attack, like areas in your game that you wanted to improve on? And then take us into like what this offseason training looked like.
Man, I appreciate the compliment first, though. That's a lot of arguments in the locker room about that, but I think that's a DMV thing. I think that's a Baltimore thing. That's just where the style comes from. I know the guys right here are going to be a little mad about that. But talking about the offseason, just what I focused on was changing my body, just being able to look more the part and be more in shape, and just, like, as I'm now being a vocal leader, just being able to do all that at once, because I never really was the one that had to talk a lot on the field. Michael was that person. Now I have to do all of that, and just being ready just to, just take that first step forward and bring the guys up behind me.
Marlowe, from the podium, a follow-up from earlier. There are a lot of new faces on the squad. What's it like trying to learn all of the personalities in such a relatively short amount of time?
I feel like us, Coach Babers talks about it a lot. As a team, we're Ohana, we're a family. We're in the locker room always together, and outside the locker room always at the apartments and things like that. We're always together. So I feel like it's not really too hard. I'm with the young linebackers all the time. I'm with the receivers all the time. I live with all offensive players, matter of fact. I never live with a defensive player. We're just always intact, always just having fun. So it's not really difficult at all.
Thank you. To the right-hand side, third row.
Hi, Marlowe. Ben Spector, WAER. What's the biggest difference between Rocky Long as a defensive coordinator versus Tony White last year?
There are two. You can relate to them two differently. Coach White maybe more of a people person. Rocky Long, he's just an older guy. He sees football differently than how we see football now. But Coach Long is he's a guru. Like he knows the defense through and through, and that's something I'm really thankful to have him here now. Just seeing the defense through a different lens, seeing how he studies the game, and just how he loves to attack offenses and things like that. But I'm ready to see how this season goes, and ready to see how he draws everything up.